Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6, consists of M. Hilmi Fauzan, Dandi Khasim, and myself, Muhammad Hilal Nazmi. We will presenting our material entitled Gender and Age. And the first material will be explained by Hilmi Fauzan. The time is yours.
Okay, the first thing about our topic is definition of gender and ages. What is gender? The word gender comes from a Latin word genus that means type or kind. Many people think that gender and sex are same, but sex refers to the characteristics that are determined biologically from the birth of someone, while gender is a term that was used in describing the characteristics of men, women, boys, and girls that socially and culturally constructed, just like masculinity and femininity. Gender also influence on how people perceive themselves and other people, just like how they should act and interact with someone and how much resource and power they would get on society. People may be born as men or women, but they have to learn first to become a boys and girl that will be grow up to become men and women. The behavior they learn from childhood life will shape their future gender identity and determine their gender roles. Next is age. Age is a length of time a person has lived or something has existed. It includes change in people's appearance over time, optimization of body function, and person's experience from the time he is born, or created until the moment it's spoken or referred to. Age is also one of the biological factors that influence person's linguistic choice of language. Human age in society can be categorized into four types, which are chronologically. Chronological age refers to the amount of time someone birth to the given date. This age type is what we will see in our identity card or something other. Two, appearance age. Appearance age refers to appearance of people that look way younger or older than their actual age. Just like old friend that meeting, someone would say that, wow, you look not that different from high school there. It's like that. Then number three is biological age. Biological age refers to the measurement of person age based on various biomarkers, a number that could be changed by a person's lifestyle and other health factors. Biological age can be affected by how someone lives. Example is someone that likes to smoke will probably have uh, older organ or something on their body. Four is mental age. Mental age refers to the difference between behavior and the process of sustaining group of people with other group. This can be seen on children that maybe was their parent and they have different thinking than other children on their age.
Okay, today I will explain the difference in gender. First, let's discuss an example of difference in gender in real life. The primary example of difference in gender is naming convention and forms of address. The obvious way that gender differentiate language use reflects social hierarchies is through naming conventions, which are often simultaneously ways of referring to people and addressing them in interaction. There is only one form of address for men, which is Mr., regardless of marital status. Until recently, however, the marital status of women was distinguished by Miss and Mrs., There is also currently a considerable variability as to which surname American women choose after marriage. Some retain their own surname, and some others adopt their husband's surname. Next, let's discuss about features. Features in language fall under two categories. The first is exclusive features, and the second is preferential features. Let's discuss the first one. Features is a features associated with the speaker of a particular gender. For example, when referring to kinship terms, female usually use mother, niece, and aunt, while men use father, nephew, and uncle. Basically, exclusive features is a feature that's exclusive to a specific gender. For example, you don't call a female Mr. You call him Miss or Mrs. And likewise, you don't call man Mrs. You call them Mr. Second features is preferential features. Preferential features distributed across speakers of both genders, but used more frequently by one than the other. For example, woman tends to use more standard language forms, while men use more vernacular forms than women do. So preferential features is features distributed to all gender, but some gender use it more often than the others. Next, after we discuss about features, let's discuss about the difference between genders. Difference is lies in turn taking and interruption. Men tends to interrupt more disruptively because they want to dominate, and women interrupt more supportively because they consider the other speaker's feelings. What is disruptive means? Disruptive, it means it restricts the contribution of the interrupted speaker. And supportive means encourage the speaker to keep going. So men interruption is usually leans more on disruptive because they want to dominate, and women's interruption leans more on supportive because they want to encourage, they want to optimize the speakers to keep going. Next is minimal responses. What is minimal responses? Minimal responses are things like yeah, uh-huh, and associated with cooperative language use, mainly to show an agreement. And women use minimal responses more than men because, back again, they want to support and sympathize more with the speaker. Next is using hedges. What is hedges? Hedges is a word or a clause used to lessen the effect of an utterance. For example, I think, I guess, maybe, sort of, somewhat, and etc. It weakens the next statement or the previous statement. Women use hedges more than men because women care more about pursuing a style of interaction based on mutual agreement and support. So women they want to hear the speaker's opinion first because before they declare their own opinion. We move on to giving compliments. Woman tends to give more compliments than men because, back again, woman consider the other speaker's feelings first. Next is asking questions. Women tend to ask more questions to support the speaker, whereas men ask more questions to challenge the speaker. Usually use questions to request information, whereas women use them to encourage or acquire attention from the speaker. Lastly, apologizing. Women apologize more than men. Now that we have discussed the difference between the gender, uh, next, we will discuss the explanation of gender difference behavior. Sociolinguists try to explain why women speak differently than men. They studied the linguistic behavior of women using more standard forms than men and came up with four explanations. Is social status. Sociolinguists claim that women believe that the way they speak signals their social class, background, or social status in community. They are more status conscious than men. Second is role in society. Society tends to expect better behavior from women than from men. Society expects women to speak and behave more correctly and standardly than men. And the third is status as subordinate group. Sociolinguists propose that people who are subordinate must be polite, and that is why women use more standards forms than men. And lastly, speech expressing masculinity. Men prefer vernacular forms because they carry macho connotations of masculinity and toughness, and that is why women prefer not to use them.
And next is age and language, or language and age. So, the study of age in relation to language, particularly the study of sociolinguistic variation, lies at the intersection of life stage and history. The individual speaker or age cohort of speakers at any given moment represents simultaneously a place in history and a life stage. Age stratification of linguistic variables then can reflect change in the speech of the community as it moves through time or historical change, and change in the speech of individual as he or she moves through life time or age grading. And next is age grading. So age grading refers to a change of behavior with age that repeats itself in each generation. Some writers use the term to refer only language used by children that is repeated in every generation without ever being used by adults. Nah, jadi age grading ini hanya terdapat pada karakteristiknya hanya terdapat pada generasi-generasi tertentu saja, seperti pada children atau pada adults atau pada elderly. Nah, jadi begitu. For the examples such as children's skipping chants or terms used in childhood games. More commonly, however, the term refers to age-specific differences in a more general sense, characterizing the language considered appropriate to and typical of different stages in the lifespan. So, for the example, some British teenagers in the 1980s used word wicked for good. This usage seems to have stopped, however, as they have grown older and abandoned in group slang words. Nah, this then is an age-exclusive feature used only during the teenagers' years. The actual slang vocabulary may change from one generation of teenagers to another, but the process of coining specialized in group vocabulary during these periods of life persists. So, you can look at the PPT. There's a general age categories. The first one is children. So, children from we can categorize children from 12 and under, and then the teenager from 13 until 19, and then adult. Then the next one is adult, started from 20 above, and then the last one is elderly from the 60 above. So age grading may also involve the use of the age preferential features, which are used by speakers of all ages in the community, but more frequently by some age groups than others. Age grading is not necessarily associated with language change, since the individuals may change their language during their lifetime. List the community as a whole doesn't change. And next is age-exclusive features. So some age-exclusive features may be due to maturational factors, reflecting, in other words, biological age. So for the example, the universal example are the one-word utterances typical of children aged about 1 year. Contoh universalnya seperti satu tipikal kata yang diucapkan oleh anak berumur 1 tahun, or the trembling voice associated with elderly speakers. Features such as these would, of course, be expected to occur universally. while the other age-exclusive features are culture-specific, reflecting societal attitudes toward different age groups. So, according to Romani reports that babies are neither expected nor encouraged to speak in Japan, and that in Korea and amongst the Chipeweans, silence is encouraged as part of the normal process of growing up, as a way of showing respect to older people. While the other example, parents, for the example, tend to use unmitigated directives to their children, right, which aims to prohibit unconsiderable behavior, but which simultaneously mark the unequal role of relationship between the parents and the children. And next, the last one is graded features. So the first one is pitch. So men tend to have a lower pitch than women, while women are higher in pitch when they hit puberty. So when men and women, when they hit puberty, they have a different pitch in both. So men have a lower pitch, and then women are higher in pitch. So young boys' voices often become lower in pitch than girls' voices as a sign of their masculinity. So not only pitch that makes a difference with age and language, but there are language patterns that are appropriate for a 10 years old and teenager that disappear as they grow older. Age-graded features such as vocabulary. So in vocabulary, there are features. The first one is swear words. So teenagers tend to use swear words than children and adults. Nah, jadi remaja itu atau teenagers itu cenderung lebih sering menggunakan kata-kata makian daripada orang dewasa atau anak-anak. Kemudian yang kedua ada slang, an area of vocabulary that young people usually use. For the example, wicked or red, to describe something they approve, or groovy versus cool, to identify the person's generation. And next is pronunciation. The last one is pronunciation. Different pronunciation can be a real giveaway in guessing a person's age. For example, pronouncing often as often. We pronounce often as often is old-fashioned as opposed to more modern often in British English. Nah, jadi kita bisa menebak a person's age based on their pronunciation. Anda bisa lihat seperti di contoh itu ada kata often. Ketika seseorang pronounces often, it is old-fashioned. Itu sering digunakan, itu dahulu kala hanya digunakan oleh Old English. Sementara ketika ada seseorang yang menggunakan yang lebih modern, it pronounced often in British English. Kita bisa menebak perbedaan usia seseorang dari cara seseorang tersebut pronouncing the words, whether it is old-fashioned or the modern one.